Again.
Wilson Morales, Black Women TV. Hi guys.
My man,
What's up, brother?
Hey, how's it going?
How you doing, Will?
We always get to see you, don't we? Theo, do you always get to see this?
Always.
I get to see him?
Yeah, we've been doing this a while, Will.
Yeah.
I just had him recently for Spell, and now it's here. And guess what? Then are you gonna have me and Theo again for Army of the Dead? You better.
Better, definitely. But here we're talking about this movie. It's a powerful film. Vanessa called it a what if type of movie. You know, when this script, each of you have been working TV and film. What was it about this script that made you say yes? Start off with you, Theo.
You saw it. I mean, this is a responsibility as an artist. Responsibility as an artist is to represent what's happening in the world, what has continued to happen. That's our job, right? To make people have conversations about what's happening. And art does that. We've been saying it now for a little while since we've been on, that art makes people have honest conversations. News does not make people have honest conversations. It makes people come from a place of whatever's been going on in their life, their whole life. Art makes you have an honest conversation. So the second I read this, no joke, end of page 1, I was like, oh yeah, of course, whatever it is. No money, short days, house yourself, do whatever you got to do. That wasn't even a question. And then on the bonus of it, I'm working with people that I've known for 20 years. You know what I mean? Who came up in this whole thing together, who didn't know their place, who still don't know their place, right? Where do we fit in? And then to do that, and Omari and I were fortunate enough that we go from a movie that costs this much to right after to Army of the Dead that costs this much. So we get to see and have this conversation of, wow, life is changing, right? So it was my responsibility as a father, as an artist, as a brother, as a citizen, and as a human to do this film. 100%. How people take it, that's up to them. But for me, that was my responsibility.
Oh?
Well, 30 seconds to piggyback, Theo's great point, brother. Honestly, the interesting reality is those two mentioned movies that Theo and I got to get down in, both are on subject, right? Or on brand to where we now live and exist. One is a zombie heist during a pandemic. There's irony in that. Crazy. Totally a pandemic. The movie is completely about a pandemic.
Crazy.
But the specificity of that stands out in the sense that is momentary. Even now, we know that the Spanish flu existed at one point in a momentary space. We've now revamped that, and it's called COVID or Corona, what have you. But in that movie, there was the momentary specificity of the pandemic. But the greater pandemic that's on subject or on brand every day for centuries now is the subject that is being spoken about, or the conversation or the art piece that we now get to view as a painting, to Theo's point, called American Skin. That never gets old. It's always it's a recurring residual reality, whether you get paid in residual or whether you get paid in pain, and that being your residual reality from it, or if you benefit in a monetary way because of the haves getting to oppress the have-nots. It is on brand and on subject, particularly within our country. And so to Theo's point, I'll just sort of add to his point and only stating it was a must do because this is always on brand and always a subject that needs to be spoken about. So no brainer. Theo said it.
Sadly, it never goes out of style.
And it never goes.
That's the thing about this movie, is that it's in a way timeless. And it's sad that we have to keep saying that this movie's timeless because you can play this now. You can play this 2 years ago. You can play this 10, 20 years ago. And the situation is still the same.
60 years ago.
What's interesting about it, Theo talked about the range of money that can be then, and Netflix did an amazing job of creating an opportunity for dear Zack Snyder, who's very gifted, to do what he did, that Theo and I are so humbled to be able to be a part of. But there's so much money in that film, and then there's this much money in a film that you just said is timeless. How ironic is that? I'm not saying more money should be given to Nate's project, but I'm saying, hey, there should be some sort of concession for the fact that it's timeless, and we can always speak about it. And if that concession comes with, a little bit more money so that more attention can be paid, to the different perspectives and conversations that are being had in this movie in ways, as you know, that have never been had before. I mean, he's given inmates an opportunity to talk, let alone the cops, you know, but yet it was done for this amount of money. Man, that speaks to the fact that, and Theo keeps saying this, these kinds of conversations people don't want to have, but we're forcing it to be had, to Nate's point. Whether it comes with money or not, whether we made money or not, we're forcing the conversation.
The roles that each of you play are totally, opposite. Obviously, Omari, you're playing on Nate's character side, and Theo's playing the opposite. For a movie like this, did you take any research into, at least for you specifically, Theo, into the standpoint of the cops, to get their perspective of what they're seeing?
Yes. I have a brother-in-law who was an NYPD, who now is a New York City firefighter. He left after 3 years and became a firefighter. And then my cousin, who is, heavy Middle Eastern, my first cousin, who's a narc in New York City. And I watched, and I've been around them enough to understand the perspective. And there's two perspectives that I learned from them. One, they want it. They nobody's asking them. They're what's going on, right? Nobody's asking them, and they have opinions on things. So this gave that voice. So I was like, oh, okay, right, wrong, or indifferent. Right, wrong, or indifferent. Let's hear what they have to say through this character I'm playing. Also, there's a lot that I think where to hear people speak who are on all different sides. What Nate did so brilliantly in this film, for me, is it's not just a father who lost his son, Kajani. It's not just the cops, inmates, a girl who just was in there to pay a ticket, people who were there, pedestrians, regular outsiders. Everybody's got a voice. And what he did so incredible when we were filming is when we were done filming, he would literally say, who wants to talk? Extras. Who wants to say something about what we're doing here? Who wants to have a conversation? You'd hear extras go, I got something to say. This happened, this happened, this happened. And then you have someone else say, this happened, this happened. And we'd sit there for hours.
And he recorded it. We have footage.
And record it. And literally have people talk who are not used to hearing their voice heard with other people in the room, because everybody's yelling into a void now, right? That's what social media is.
Especially with Theo Rossi being in the room with them, especially with Nick Parker being in the room with them. We're
just talking into a void.
They were all of a sudden brought to the level of everyone.
So for me, I sat there and I got down and I talked to my cousins, my brother-in-law, my friends, some have been cops since they were 20, 19. Some are already retired, 20 years on the job, out. I've also watched them over the years. I've watched some change for the worse. I've watched some change for the better. And the thing is I've played all ranges, mainly criminals, but a lot of cops, but a lot of criminals. Most of the cops I've played have been bad cops. And it's very different to kind of step inside and go, what are they thinking? Why are they so hinged on this belief of whatever that is? So I got to do whatever, like I do for every character, like I'm currently doing right now for this, is I have to do as much research as possible and then take my spin on it. So I had to tackle this role in the most truthful way that I can, because I think that if we don't have a certain belief in what we do, just like you do when you're interviewing, just like O does when he's as his art, if you don't have your belief into why you're doing this, you couldn't get up every day. You couldn't do what you do.
And before I let you go, Omari, if you can speak to me about Nate's position as a director and what you may have picked up from him.
I think I'll piggyback Theo's point. He's so aware of why he's doing what he's doing. You need that. You have so many people, Wilson, and obviously there have been many a person that has asked, I know Theo to do the same in terms of Theo, you should direct. There have been plenty of people that say the same thing. Omari, Theo's been one of them. Like, oh, you got to direct. We're so aware of who we are, and we're so into giving people a shot. Big team, little I. Hell, Wilson, I tried to shake it for years. It doesn't work. I'm just big team, little I. But I realized that, God will make you what he makes you. So your station or your position is never necessarily jeopardized because you're going to be what you're going to be. You're going to do what you're going to do. What he knows, which a lot of directors don't, is he knows the straightest point between, right? It's a straight line between the quickest way to get from A to B is a straight line. He's open, and I don't think this is something I learned because I know him as a friend or a brother first. He's open to that being a crooked line a bit. He's open to that. I saw him talking to Theo. I don't know what he's saying to Theo. Theo can be right next to me. Theo knows my style of acting. Theo met me in 1999. I'm closing my ears, Wilson. If you're an actor in my scene and the director is giving you note, I'm closing my ears. And actors know, like Omari's going to do this, because I don't want to know what he's told you. But if I know that I'm closing my ears in the space of a fellow talented actor, then I know that what the talented actor is bringing is the same thing that I learned as a director that Nate brings, which is the talented actor had a bag of not only tricks, but a bag of knowing why they are choosing to do this role. Nate knows why he wants to direct the project. Together, they come up with a cool truth. If Nate's doing the same thing with me, it just makes the scene all the wiser. It's just a lot of directors I've worked with, Wilson, are very insecure, bro. I'm gonna be really real with you. You can step in when you want, Theo. A lot of directors are really, really small and insecure.
Listen, I'll tell you this.
I have worked with massive directors who are physically small, who have the greatest confidence of any and are not insecure at all. I've worked with women who are some of the greatest directors I've ever worked with. I've worked with big men who barely can have a conversation with me, yet they're being paid even more than me as a director. Nate is very, very aware of why he's on set, the story he's doing. He's not trying to jack off and toot his own horn. And he casts, like Spike Lee said, 90% of casting, is who you delegate. From cinema photographer, DP, staffing, lighting, administration, and these actors. When you give me Theo, that's a duh, because I've worked with him before. I've known his person and his gift for so long. But when you give me some actors I don't know, man, you really as a director got to know why you're there, because I don't feel like going to a director place when I'm not hired to be a director. So that's it, Wilson. I'm not on set to be a director. Me and Theo didn't come as a director. So he's got to know what he's doing. And some of those actors I don't know. So I got to trust that he knows them enough that we're going to rock and roll. And I think that's his greatest gift. He absolutely knows why he's there and why he's doing what he's doing.
Gentlemen, it's been great. My only thing is I'm going to have a bet to which one of you dies last in Army of the Dead. Take care, folks. All right.
I want to see who you think.
Okay. Bye.